Hi, my name is Dennis and welcome yet to another video. Today we're going to fully review the Moto Guzzi V100 Stelvio from 2024. I've been riding this bike for a while now. This is the second time I'm riding it and I think I'm ready for a full review. So let's dive in. If you didn't watch my previous video about the first impressions of this bike, please do, because I will give you a little bit more information in this video, but this is a full review. The first impressions was a couple of weeks ago. I was riding that bike for a couple of hours and now I've been riding this bike for a whole day. And as I said, I'm ready for a review. If you are new to the channel, please consider to subscribe. This channel is about reviewing motorcycles, and today we are reviewing the Moto Guzzi, but we could also review other motorcycles. And I'm also doing my own build series, rides, trips, and that kind of stuff. So if you like this kind of content, please consider to subscribe. Now that is out of the way, let's talk about the Moto Guzzi. I've been lucky enough that Niva Motore is lending me this bike for the day. I've been working with Niva for a while now and they always give me the opportunity to test new bikes in their dealership. They're a dealership of Moto Guzzi, Aprilia, Kawasaki, Suzuki and KTM. So if you're in the neighborhood, please consider to visit them, and if you are interested in this bike or other bikes that they have to offer, please take your time to go to them and say hi. So okay, the Moto Guzzi V100 Stelvio. We're going to talk about the engine, comfort, rideability, the price of this bike, the specs that you can get, brakes and suspensions in the category rideability, my overall feelings about the looks and my final thoughts. So let's dive in. So this engine is the same engine as in the V100 Mondello, my previous bike. You can also watch videos of that bike. I was really loving that engine and I still do. This version has around 115 brake horsepower at around 8700 RPM, and it has a max of 104.3 Newton meters of torque at around 6700 RPM. For this, of course, this is not a bike that you can win races with versus the KTM 1290 or the future 1390, the BMW 1300 GS or something like that. It doesn't mean to compete with that kind of bikes. It's in its own category. So talking about the engine, 150 brake horsepower, I think that's more than enough. I think that's the sweet spot. I've had bikes that had a lot more, but yeah, I've never used that on the road, and if you have a little bit less, I think it's not as exciting and as having 150 brake horsepower with a lot of torque. So I really like this amount of horsepower. I think that's the perfect match between having an exciting bike on the road but also manageable on the road, so really good. The engine is the second liquid cooled engine, or the first liquid cooled engine of Moto Guzzi together with the V100 Mondello. It's the same engine. Really a lovely engine, has loads of character, really nice to ride. You can do a lot with it. You can probably also ride pretty good off-road with it, but also on the road it's just a perfect engine, and it has a lot more character than most of the engines out there if you compare it to, let's say, 3-cylinder engine or 4-cylinder engines. I think this bike is really good, and of course it has the Guzzi shake. I really like the sound of this engine. It does have a little bit of a whistle, so you can maybe change that with another exhaust, but all in all it's a really nice sound, and I think it's really good. It's not too loud, it's not too quiet. It's just a really good sound and I like it. So yeah, for the engine, it's a really good engine, and if I would give it a number, it's definitely an 8 out of 10. So I've brought my coffee with me because it's an Italian bike, so you need to drink coffee. It was a cappuccino, so I'm sorry Italians, it's a little bit too late for a cappuccino I think, but yeah, we do drink our cappuccinos the whole day here in the Netherlands. I'm sorry for that. So this bike is loaded with tech. You have a version that has a radar. This bike has multiple riding modes. It has road, sport, tour, rain and off-road. So pretty nice, and I really like the fact that you can really easily change the modes. I will show that on my other camera. So let's show you a little bit of the tech. So same screen as Aprilia, as I said. Really nice quality buttons, same as Aprilia. Riding modes you can change with this button, which is really nice. No difficult menus or something like that. So now it's in off-road mode, sport mode, road mode, and tour, rain, and then back to off-road. So that's pretty nice. You can also change the screen with this button. Up and down. It does make a really weird noise, but I think that's normal. Really liking it. Adjustable suspension. So this is the menu. You can also adjust the riding modes if you want. Emergency brake system. Dashboard. Clock. Language. And that's it. Pretty simple, but really easy to use when you're used to it. It has really good radial brakes from Brembo with ABS, cornering lights, full LED at the front, full LED at the rear, and you also have an adjustable electronic windshield, which is really nice. You can also use navigation on your screen if you have the right package. I've used that navigation on my V100 Mandela S before, and I thought it was pretty good. I wouldn't need anything more if you just want simple directions and no full map display. You can also pair your phone so you can change music or accept calls or something like that, so that's really nice. The screen is the same as the V100 Mandela S and also the same as most of the new Aprilia bikes, but the screen is easily readable, pretty nice. If you talk about comfort, I think this bike is really comfortable. I myself am 187 centimeters, so 1.87 meters, so I'm a little bit above average. I do have pretty tall legs, but I can easily flat foot on this bike, and in this bike you're more in it than on it, so of course you can change that with a different seat. But if I'm not sure if this one has no, this one doesn't have a center stand standard, but if you can see at the angle of my leg, it's just perfect. I think this is even more comfortable than the V100 Mandela S, and yeah, I could easily ride all day with it. And of course you have a pretty good wind protection because you have an adjustable windshield and you have a pretty big windshield, and you can also of course change that for different windshields. But together with the good wind protection, the good seating position, the nice and plush seat, and also it's pretty wide and also pretty wide at the back, so really good for a passenger. Yeah, it's a perfect bike to do long distance travel with. If I would choose a Moto Guzzi right now to do long distance travel, to go around Europe or something like that, I would definitely consider the Stelvio. I think that bike is the best bike for that option. So, talking about rideability, it has really good adjustable suspension. It doesn't have the electronic suspension package of the V100 Mandela S, but I really don't miss that on this bike. It has the really good Brembo radial brakes, radial calipers, and also radial levers for both the clutch and the brake. It has a really good stopping power. I think these are one of the best brakes that I've ever used on a bike, together with my V100 Mandela S. The standard tires are Michelin Anarchy Adventure, so that's pretty much the standard tire also on a BMW GS. It has 17-inch at the rear and 19-inch at the front, which is a really good mix between road and off-road. Of course, if you want a better dedicated off-road bike, you should go to the V85 GT. If you want a Moto Guzzi, and you should go to a 21-inch front wheel, which this doesn't have, but it does give you a lot of options in terms of road tires. So yeah, it's always a compromise. But in terms of rideability, it's really flickable. It has its weight really down low, and also together with the punchiness of the engine, it's just a really perfect and fun and spirited ride if you put it in sport mode. The suspension, as I said, is adjustable on the front and at the rear, which is pretty much standard in this price category, but it's really nice that you have that on this bike. Also, in terms of maintenance, I really think the bike is really easy to maintain. You can really easily reach the valve cover, so that's really nice. Also, the drive shaft makes it relatively easy to maintain, so you have no chains to lubricate, so that's also a really big plus. In this price category, you normally don't get a drive shaft, so that's really nice. I think this bike is a pretty nice looking bike. If you look at the pictures, it's quite underwhelming, if I'm honest, but if you see that bike in the flesh, it's really nice. It has a lot of really nice details. I really like the gray engine covers. I really like the Moto Guzzi logo and sort of matte black with a little bit of, yeah, how do you say that? Sparkly in it. I really like the lines of this bike. It's wide at the front and a little bit smaller at the rear. I really like the tail lights and also the headlight. Of course, the famous eagle on the front. What I also really like is the standard exhaust. There's only one thing that I don't like, and that's the really big bread box underneath for the catalyst. If that was removed or it was another color, it is much better. So talking about price, the standard version of this bike is 16,500 euros, which is, it seems like a lot, but if you compare it to, let's say, the competition, a Tracer 9 or a GSX X1000, the new high GSX, the GS of the Suzuki, I think it's pretty competitive. It's lower in price than the Tracer and that bike, and you do get an Italian bike with Italian fit and finish. You also get really awesome brakes, also really nice braided brake line, good standard tires, a lot of nice features, and yeah, I think in terms of the package, I think for 16,500 euros, I think it's almost 2,000 or 3,000 euros more than the V85 TT. So that's not a big price difference, but you do get a lot better engine, more power, and also better brakes and better suspension than the V85 TT. So in terms of that, I think it's a really good price. So for 800 euros more, you get the special edition or the radar edition, and you have cruise control. Of course, normal cruise control is standard on this bike, but you get the distance cruise control on this bike with the radar. I personally don't like that kind of features, but it's nice to have it on your bike. But for me, it's not a deal breaker or anything. If I would buy this bike, I would probably buy it with the radar, but that is because, yeah, you're already paying 16.5. Why not 17,300? And maybe it's easy to resell that bike, but it's a nice pricey upgrade, but it's okay. Final thoughts on this bike. I think it's a really good bike for a price. Also, it's really good looking. It has a really nice engine, nice brakes, nice stack, nice suspension. Also quality parts on this bike, and it's pretty unique. You also have a really good drive shaft, which is of course maintenance free in some sorts. So it's really nice bike to commute on. You get a bike that you can easily attach cases on with the standard slots of this bike. You have a nice luggage rack on it. Yeah, I think if I would look for a bike that you can travel on, do long distance, and also of course daily commutes, and just also a bike that you can do almost everything with it. You can also do some spirited rides in sport mode. I think this is a really good package for the price, and I would definitely consider this bike. Would I buy it personally? Yeah, it really depends on my situation. If I'm looking for this kind of bike, so a travel bike, I would definitely consider this bike together with maybe an older GS or something like that. But if I want character, I think this bike is the best choice. And if I want to go a little bit more off-road, I would buy a GS. But otherwise, yeah, it's a really nice package. It's a great success for Moto Guzzi. I hope they really sell a lot of these bikes, because I think the company deserves it. And I really, yeah, it's a really nice bike. So yeah, so if you are thinking about buying this bike, I would definitely consider doing a test ride. And if you are thinking, okay, this bike is something for me, think about it again and then buy the bike. So that's it for the video. I hope you liked it, and if you want to see anything more of this kind of content, please consider to subscribe. If you like this video, please give a like, and if you have any questions about this bike, please leave a comment down below and I will try to answer them as soon as possible. Yeah, thanks for watching. See you next. If you want to see my newest video, tap here. If you want to see my recommended video for you, tap here. And if you want to subscribe, tap here. Thanks for watching. Tap here, or tap here.